What is happening, big dogs? It's Larold, and we've got another big update for you for the stat stacking Ritualist build. The boss damage is way up, the clear speed is also way up. I killed some max level pinnacle bosses and did some simulacrums, and they were super easy. Then I killed a bunch of the actual max difficulty content in the game right now, which is just powerful map bosses, and they also went down pretty smoothly, although man oh man are those things pretty tanky, gotta say. So let's get into it, but first, be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join our Discord as well. We're over 1,300 members and still growing. Alright, so let's talk a little bit about the character. It's the same character as before. I Saw The Baja Blast. That is a reference to I Saw the TV Glow. Recommend that movie. It's pretty good. So, we've had a lot of questions about Ritualist. You know, it has that wonderful, or at least I think the icon for it's pretty cool. But I've seen a lot of people say, you know, like, what's the deal with Ritualist? It's just an extra ring, right? Like, that's it. It's an extra ring. And, you know, technically it's an extra ring, and then also sort of like 75% of another ring and 25% of an amulet. But that is kind of true. Like, that's kind of all you're getting out of Ritualist. You're getting a free charm slot, I suppose, but then, like, I'm not even taking As the Whispers Demand or Corrupted Life Force right now. Like, I'm taking move speed and then, like, less than 1% damage, literally 0% damage on bosses out of this little physical node. So why is Ritualist still good? Gear is by far the most important aspect of a character's power right now. So, like, yeah, it's just a ring and just part of an extra amulet, but that's, like, better than 4 points worth of most, or 8 points worth of most ascendancies. It just is, especially for stat stacking. When you're able to have this massive multiplier on an Astramentus, it is just so much better, especially when you're trying to scale up specific, like, physical and lightning attack damage, which we're doing with all three of our rings here. Than you're able to get out of other ascendancies. So I think if you were really wanting to go for like ultra high budget, like if you only wanted to play one build, which we don't, maybe Deadeye might be competitive, you know, be able to move a little bit faster at the high end, but I think Ritualist is really, really goated, and especially considering that we're doing this, I think at the lowest budget of the three builds that we've put together thus far in this league. Alright, I got into editing. I just wanted to add in. I think if you're doing a stat stacker, I think Ritualist is, like, literally unbeatable, no matter how much budget you have for any other ascendancy. I think the only way that this, like, a Hollow Palm build could be comparable to this is if you did another ascendancy with more budget, and then also you're not stat stacking. Just adding that because I'm sure somebody will comment, and I agree. Alright, so with that being said, I want to talk about some of the big changes that we have made to the build in the last several days since our previous update, and the first would be that I'm actually making use of Staggering Palm in maps. It's a really simple buff, you know, like you cast it on an enemy, and if you heavy stun them, which is pretty easy to do unless you're doing maps or simulacrum waves that have increased stun threshold, then by the time you've stunned most enemies, they're probably also, you've like basically punched them to death, so whatever. But once you stun them, you get the 7-second buff that causes you to like launch wind projectiles all over the place, and with between Nova projectiles, so you shoot them all out in like kind of a star shape, projectile acceleration, which gives you a massive amount of projectile speed and projectile damage, and ricochet, which causes them to have a pretty high chance to ricochet off of terrain. If you're fighting in an indoor area, you're basically just going to flood the screen with these wind projectiles, which, at least in my experience, are not bad on your graphics card, but they are hell on enemy health bars. So it's just like a really, really powerful clearing machine skill, good for rituals, good for any sort of indoor maps, and then having stun 2 helps with guaranteeing the stuns, you know, so you can actually stack up the buff. It's only 7.5 seconds per stack, but you can very quickly just like punch, and build up to 30 seconds. That's the maximum duration. And if you do like prolonged duration support or whatever on this, it's still only going to have a maximum buff duration of 30 seconds. You can't increase that, so there's kind of no reason to. I think you get it up to like 10 seconds per stun, so you have to stun like 3 times instead of 4. I don't really think it's worth giving up like the projectile speed or the chaining, but you can do it if you want. So that is something that I've been using in a lot of like indoor maps, like I said. And the other thing that I've been using in mapping is Flicker Strike. And so Flicker Strike's just fun, right? Like, you don't have to use it, and you definitely don't have to build up to maximum power charges in order to use it, but it's something that you could very easily, while you're zipping around through maps, you know, you're zipping around, sometimes you can maintain what is it called? Charge staff. That's something I've been doing. But charge staff, because we're actually not using a quarterstaff, we're still just using our fists, it actually doesn't give us flat damage. It's unfortunate, but it's fine, right? Like, it's just free damage procs, and so I don't know if you get tired of hearing the sound of the charge staff popping off, or maybe you just don't want to try to maintain that. You can just spend those power charges on Flicker Strike, which is something I've been doing a lot in mapping, especially in kind of larger, wide open maps where you're able to use a flicker chain to just like chain throughout an entire map, basically clearing stuff, and it works really nicely with the Staggering Palm buff. So you just kind of, when I zone into a map, I'll get Staggering Palm up, I'll be zipping around with Tempest Flurry, and then whenever I feel like I have enough charges to guarantee that when I hit Hand of Chayula, I'll get like a nice bonus of like a bunch of power charges, like 3 or 4 or something, at least from Eyeless Chimes, I'll then start flickering around. And that's pretty much it. You're just kind of bouncing back and forth between Tempest Flurry to build up combo stacks on Hand of Chayula thanks to Culmination. Then you use Hand of Chayula, which thanks to Eyeless Chimes generates power charges, and then blasting with Flicker Strike. And so the support gems that we're using on Flicker are, of course, we're always using Defy. That's how we're able to make mana work. And then Ancestral Call too. This just makes it so that, you're pretty much only Flicker Striking, like, I don't know, every 5, 10, 15 seconds, much less every, 3, so that's going to be up for basically all of them. Culmination, since we are zipping around and building combo on all of our skills, Flicker is good for that. And then Perpetual Charge, so we have a chance of getting, back-to-back Flickers. That feels kind of nice. And then Close Combat, because Flicker moves you into melee range with enemies and punches them, so it's obviously good for damage to have close combat there. And so that's what we've kind of changed up for the way that we're kind of blasting through maps. Essentially, we're getting a lot of clear out of the combination of Herald of Thunder doing a lot of damage as we're flickering around, Staggering Palm. If you want to maintain Charge Staff while you're doing that as well, that's certainly going to add a lot more damage on top of all of that. For single target damage, we've kept the setup for Falling Thunder the same. It's Culmination, Fist of War 3, Inevitable Critical, Rakiata's Flow, and Defy. But what we have done is we have gone for more power charges in the tree, and so I'm going to show that off now. I can show that off in-game, or I can show that off in the PoB here. So this is the PoB. This is my end goal, level 97. Coming here for Distracted Target. Right now I'm level 94 in-game, so I'm just like this, but that's okay. Just even a little bit of blind in this build is really good for guaranteeing pretty much everything is blind all the time, and I could just toggle the difference between enemies being blinded and not blinded. You can see the effective health goes from 50k to 63k. It's pretty substantial, that jump there. And so as you can see, what we've done here is we have taken some points and gone for Lust for Power. We've dropped some points in this area. We've dropped some evasion rating, some deflection and evasion. And we've just really committed to that. We're still taking all of these points over here, of course. Still taking all the travel nodes. They're still playing a stat stacker, so we're still wanting all of that. We're still taking advantage of this combo of Against the Darkness and From Nothing around Walker of the Wild, so it just works really well to save a lot of points and give us a lot of power. But we're guaranteeing or getting the extra power charge from Lust for Power, and also I'm using a Megalomaniac with the Power Within. So I've swapped my Megalomaniac around to give me the Power Within and True Strike. If you just get one that has the Power Within, they're pretty cheap. If you want to get the Power Within and another good mod, they can get expensive very fast. So I'm obviously, because of that, True Strike, the other bonus that I'm getting is this one right here. It's a really good bonus. For the Jugular is also really good. I do think that Blinding Strike can be pretty decent as well. I think I had a for the Jugular and Blinding Strike Megalomaniac for a while that was working pretty well. But there are some good bonuses up here, they're not converted in PoB, but they are converted in game, that can be converted by the Heroic Tragedy that we're using up here. Natural Energies is pretty good. I think I had some other ones up here that I've lost track of, but it's fine, right? Ultimately, this is one, Rest Control. So the point is, if you want to try and take advantage of some of these bonuses up here with your Megalomaniac, try and use a bonus up here that gets converted by that Heroic Tragedy, and then also something that interacts with the Power Within. I recommend it. I think it's a really good idea. I just didn't have anything that, for me, worked up in this area and was good. and was cheap. You know, I ultimately just kind of settled, and I mean, I settled into blasting bosses, so I'm fine with it. In addition to that, we've also dropped in a controlled metamorphosis right here, which is amazingly good. We found one with -8 all res and -3 chaos res. It doesn't need to be a massive ring, so that might affect the price somewhat, but I think this is only like 3 or maybe 4 divines for this, so I think it's pretty cheap, and it allows us to take Wild Storm, which is amazing because we are using Defy, so our damage is lucky. This is really good. Lightning damage already has a high maximum roll, and now it's 15% higher. We're also able to get Deadly Force, which is a really good bonus, and Moment of Truth, which is a really good bonus, and Concussive Attack, which is a really good bonus, and then there's some potential to take Warding Potions as well if you want like a bit of quality of life, basically. I mean, that's really all it is, just the ability to guarantee you can remove curses, but that is some pretty good quality of life for this build, which is a build that could do all map mods very easily, and that is like, yeah, probably the most annoying mod is just to get like temp chains, and being able to have a very quick shortcut for removing that is good. So in terms of gear, I haven't made any like radical upgrades, right? I think I'm still using all the same gear, basically all the same gear as I was before. I think I might have swapped out some rings just to like make resistances and stuff work a little bit better. I did swap over one of my intermission bonuses, the pillars one, to be all defense. So, you know, like I just wanted more energy shield and evasion rating and deflection and stuff. I do wish I had more energy shield. 631 is a little lower than I would like, but you know, that's kind of the one natural limitation of the build, and mostly that comes from the fact that I'm using move speed boots, which I won't apologize for doing. I guess I could get a lot more evasion and energy shield if I gave up 35% move speed, but I don't want to do that. That sounds like it sucks. So because of the way that we have our passive tree set up now, we are getting 7 power charges for our Falling Thunders, and so that is our big boss combo. That's the whole deal, right? You are right-clicking around on a boss, you know, you're hitting them with Tempest Flurry, you're building up the combo that you are able to get thanks to Culmination, and then you're able to just hit them with that Hand of Chayula, because of Eyeless Chimes, you'll get like 7 power charges, and then you just Falling Thunder them, and then they're dead, ultimately. They're dead at that point. Usually I try to shoot for somewhere between like 70 and 100 stacks. You know, you could go higher if you want to guarantee. You know, it's kind of something you'll have to figure out exactly what number of stacks you want to go for on each boss, and then also you kind of want to hope for a crit. So I did a little bit of napkin math on the amount of damage that you can get out of a single Falling Thunder, and the way that Falling Thunder works is like not totally correctly implemented in PoB, because PoB still thinks that you like get damage out of power charges and frenzy charges and stuff. Well, maybe not frenzy charges, but like power charges, which it does, but then it also says that they're like not implemented. You can see it's in red, it's not supported yet. So here's the way that the damage on Falling Thunder works when you have power charges. First of all, it'll shoot out projectiles, which means it does more damage. They do a lot of damage, actually. They do 70% more damage per power charge consumed, and 100% more damage if a power charge was consumed, period. So for 7, that would be 490% more because of the 7 power charges, and then also 100% more just because there was a power charge at all. And then you also get 3 projectiles per power charge consumed. I believe that those do all shotgun, so I mean, they definitely seem like they can, although it's kind of hard to hit a boss with 21 projectiles. You know, I think roughly if we're getting 247,000 damage per projectile, which I do think that number's wrong, then we're looking at something like 300 million damage on a fully charged up, fully lined up, at least 100 combo stacks Falling Thunder. Again, I don't necessarily believe that this number is correct, but you know, the point is you're able to Falling Thunder a boss and just one bang it very easily. You know, we're looking at a 590% more damage multiplier on the projectiles just from consuming power charges, then also a 2100% damage multiplier from the fact that it's 21 projectiles. So what is that, 5.9 times 21, it's like 123% or 123 times more damage per projectile. Not to mention if you have 100 stacks of Culmination, that's 3% more damage per combo. That's like a 3x multiplier on top of that. So we're looking at like something like 400 times more damage based on having 7 projectiles than if we had, I don't know, 1 or whatever, 0, I suppose. So yeah, pretty huge damage out of Falling Thunder. I mean, it's why the build is able to just like combo around, right click around for like a while, and then 1, 2, and then things just fall over. Now, one very silly little change that I have made pretty recently to the build, so recently that I forgot to even use any glass blowers baubles on it, is this melting Maelstrom. I just found one from doing Delirium. They're really cheap. I don't know that it's actually doing anything, but on the other hand, you are annihilating your mana pool while playing this build. And so the ability to just occasionally hit this and have your character radiate out, these little Chaos Novas, as you can see them, is not bad. And because it deals 25% of your current mana as chaos damage to you at the end of the effect, well, look, man, you're going to be at 0 mana all the time. So maybe it's doing something, maybe it's not, but your Mana Flask is basically a dead item slot, so it doesn't hurt to use. I think also using an Olros Resolve for your Life Flask instead of a regular Life Flask, certainly one like I have here that I never even bothered to quality up. I never really, I never had any deaths where I felt like this was the reason that I died. Anytime I've died, it's been basically just due to the new powerful map bosses and me just kind of getting stepped on by them, trying to like face tank something and see like, can I live through this? And then I have to go like, oh no, it's that or Abyss monsters turning off my ability to regen life, which that's pretty fun. And so I think the parting note that I will say here is that in terms of mapping, this has been just a really awesome build. I would say the biggest bit of advice I can give for staying alive, both in mapping and in bossing, is just to keep moving. Like, if you're a moving target, you are just so much harder for monsters to hit. It's so much easier to stay alive if you keep moving. The only time that, like, my heart rate ever kind of jumps up a bit when I'm playing this build is when I get stuck on something. Something I don't love about Delirium, the fact that there are just, like, obstacles, scarecrows, and stuff to get stuck on in Simulacrum, I should say. But yeah, like, any time that you get stuck in place for a little bit, I like to, like, nope out of there very quickly. Other than that, I feel like I'm very nearly unkillable by almost everything, except for, again, powerful map bosses, because they're just kind of overtuned at this given moment. Still, though, most of them really don't stand a chance. They're getting flattened. So that is the Stat Stacking Ritualist. It is a really good build, and like I said, it costs less than the first couple of builds we put out this league, so I'm really happy with how it has all come together. It's so fast, it's pretty tanky, and it is deadly. Okay, it's still the month of October and we're still recommending spooky movies. In the Mouth of Madness is one of our favorite scary movies, and it stars Sam Neill, New Zealand's greatest actor, so check it out. Alright, that's it. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video and join the Skipping Sleep Studio Discord to become part of our community. And finally, thank you to all of our channel members. If you want to support us and help us make more PoE content, become a channel member or come boost our Discord. Thanks for watching. Bye.